Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that whenever we release a video at the Jamaica Young Police channel, you'll be the first to receive the same. Remember to share the video with your friend, your mama, papa, girlfriend, boyfriend, and your side chick and side man. Yes, and post a comment below, even just to post and say, I am here to show your appreciation of the work that we are doing here at the Jamaica Young Police channel. And thanks for being a part of the movement. So, moving on. We're at the Jamaica Young Police and we hate criminals with a passion. So here's one of them. This guy's name is Robert Panton. Yeah, aka Froggy. Have a distinct scar on the left side of his face and him eye go all the way down to him cheekbone. And you know, more or less is a Jamaican do that, you know, telephone cut. I don't know how them come by that thing for, you know, to scar people face like that, and that it's just awful, but terrible people. So this man that you're looking at, his name is Robert Panton, aka Froggy. Yeah, Froggy them call him on the street, and he's wanted in New York, in Queens, New York, for the murder of Javon Jamison, a Jamaican youth them called Blingers. Yes, and Blingers was killed almost 2 years ago by this man and another man named Christopher King. Christopher King is in custody in New York, awaiting trial for the murder of Jamison. So we are appealing, we are begging, beseeching you Jamaican people in Jamaica and the diaspora, wherever you see this man, to inform the police, whether it's 119 or 911, and let them know that this man is wanted in New York for the murder of Javon Jamison, so that this man can be placed in custody or go straight to the departure where he belongs, and that's justice. And we say that because we hate criminals with a passion, because there was no reason for this man to kill Blingers, because Blingers was not a threat to him at the time. It was murder, clear murder. Yes, welcome to the Jamaica Young Police channel. To our loyal viewers, subscribers and Patreon member. At the channel, we are a group of law-abiding citizens who believe in the rule of law and respect the rights of every citizen, but not the ones who do not subscribe to such behavior. We do believe in and support preemptive strikes because they save lives. This is a logical conclusion because preemptive strikes save lives and prevent the further loss of lives. We are all about saving lives at this channel. We at the channel aid criminals with a passion and do not want them over here. We do not want your views, your subscriptions, your likes or your comments. Please go elsewhere where the red carpet is waiting for you. Over here, we want you to go to prison or the departure lounge at Madden. Moving on to today's video. Yes, right now you're looking at a man, a Jamaican. He has been in the United States of America for the past 50 years. He came here when he was 4. So I'm even older than this man. And he came here and he has been living in Harlem. And for some reason, he got himself involved in the drug trade. And he had received life imprisonment. Then later on down the road, his sentence was commuted and he has been fighting deportation to Jamaica. Donald Trump has been trying for the past more than 8 years now to deport this man to Jamaica. He had asked President Joe Biden to commute his sentence, you know. But we want to show you that, you know, we see that where Joe Biden has commuted sentence of white men who has committed some heinous crime against youths. Yeah, you have, you know, prison, you know, where in America, you know, the justice system is, everything is all about money, you know. So when a youth is locked up in jail, you have people that make monies. Yeah, and the judges, they were on the take, they were getting money from the people who own these jails. They were getting kickbacks. And, you know, a few of them went to prison. And Joe Biden commuted them, yeah, clean. And people were saying it was disgraceful. But hey, it's white people, you understand. And I would think that crime is a crime, you know, but we do believe in redemption. So let's show some compassion and fairness. Robert Panton deserves a second chance. You know, normally I don't advocate for second chance of people involved in criminality, but it's just that the way this man turn around in life. We live in a world where redemption is possible and where people who have made grave mistakes can still turn around their lives around. Robert Panton is one such man. He has transformed his life in ways that many only talk about but never achieve. He is not the same man he was once, and that should matter. This is not a call for blind forgiveness, but a plea for balanced justice and human decency. Panton has paid a heavy price for his past. He served his time, reflected on his wrongs, and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to do better. He is a transformed individual who has contributed positively to his community and shown that change is not only possible, it's real. It is real. So meanwhile, let's not forget the glaring contradiction in the system. President Donald Trump issued pardons to individuals who participated in the January 6th Capitol insurrection, a violent attack on the very foundation of American democracy, where law enforcement officers were beaten, traumatized, and even lost their lives. Some of those, all of them who have been pardoned, some of those pardoned were cop killers or individuals who contributed to that chaos. So if the American justice system and the highest office in the land can find room to pardon insurrectionists and cop killers because of political allegiances or perceived loyalty, then surely we can find room in our hearts and system to give a second chance to a Jamaican who has genuinely changed his life for the better. This isn't about Robert Panton. It's about principle, fairness, and compassion. Justice should not be blind to race, nationality, or background. It should be measured with consistency and mercy and a recognition of rehabilitation. Come on now. If others who have done worse are given a pass, why not extend the same grace, man, to Robert Panton? Donald Trump, you know you don't have the heart still, you don't care about money, but money is only of this world. And you still got dead same way whether or not you want to believe it. And anybody who afraid to tell you that are because them are dummy. And when I tell you say you got dead, Elon must have got dead, the whole of you got dead. So after 50 years in the US, Harlem grandfather faces deportation. Is this justice? For over half a century, Robert Sergio Panton has called the United States home. He arrived from Kingston, Jamaica at 4. A child full of promise and dreams. Growing up on the blocks of Harlem, nearly every memory, every experience that shaped his life happened on American soil. He went to school here, built a family here, stumbled here. And just as importantly, he found redemption here. But now, at 59 years old, battling chronic medical issues and surrounded by his American-born children and grandchildren, Robert Panton finds himself fighting for his very right to stay in the only home he has ever known. Detained during a recent check-in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Panton is now being processed for deportation under a decades-old removal order despite having rebuilt his life, paid his debt to society, and become a respected community figure. A mistake that became a life sentence. In 1994, Robert was convicted of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute heroin, a charge that reflected the harsh policies of the war on drugs era. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, an extraordinary severe punishment, especially when one considers the circumstances that led him there: a failed boxing career, a debilitating back injury, poverty, and a grip of addiction. He made a terrible choice, something he admits and deeply regrets. In his own words, after my injuries, it seemed like I had no other option to make money. I was of course wrong and failed to think about the impact selling drugs would have on so many around me and my future. He served more than 25 years. While incarcerated, he changed. He educated himself, mentored others, and stayed away from trouble. He emerged from prison in 2020 with a clear mission to help others avoid the path he once took. Him lucky them never deport him from then. And he did it. Just that. And he did just that. Since his release, Robert has become a cornerstone of his Harlem neighborhood, supporting the elderly, mentoring youth, managing buildings, and most of all, being present for his family. His transformation is not a story of words, but of tangible actions and community impact. My dad is my role model, a son in uniform, speaks. Robert's son, Dejan Panton, an officer with the NYPD, a man who proudly wears the badge, shaped by the lessons of redemption, service, and accountability taught by his father. My dad is my role model, Dejan told Newsweek. He taught me the importance of public service and caring for your neighbors. He deserved the chance to get to know his granddaughter and to stay in Harlem, where we can support him and make sure he has access to health care as he faces his own medical challenges. How is it just to deport a man whose greatest offense was committed 30 years ago, who served his time, transformed his life, and now give back more than he have ever took? The weaponization of policies against redemption, Panton's deportation proceedings are not just about legality. They are about selective enforcement and the lack of mercy in a system that increasingly targets long-term residents like him under the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. The net was cast wide, capturing not just violent offenders or recent arrivals, but also individuals like Robert, whose crimes are decades old and who have since proven their commitment to rehabilitation and community care. To make matters worse, ICE has accused him without evidence of gang affiliation. Neither he nor his attorneys have ever seen any documentation to support his claim, which has not appeared in any court filings. Robert denies the accusation entirely, saying, "I have never been a member of any gang. I can only imagine they are confusing me with someone else. If I wasn't so dangerous that they are saying this, it would be laughable." Yet, this baseless label is being used to deny his release and expedite his removal. A broken system that forgets humanity. The cruelty here is not just legal, it's emotional, communal, generational. Robert's deportation would rip apart a family and rob a community of a father, mentor, a grandfather, and a neighbor. His grandchildren all born in the United States may grow up without the presence of a man who guided their father toward public service and purpose. And it raises a sobering question. If we as a society cannot recognize and protect the lives of people who generally change for the better, what message are we sending about the value of redemption? It's time to reclaim compassion in immigration policy. This is not about Robert Panton, it's about how we define justice. Is it retribution without end? Or is it rehabilitation, forgiveness, and second chances? Donald Trump pardoned individuals involved in the deadly Capitol riots, some of whom directly attacked law enforcement officers. These were people who violently stormed a seat of democracy. If they could be forgiven in the name of politics, why not extend the same opportunity to a man who has proven his growth time and time again? Where's the empathy? Where's the logic? If Robert Panton is deported, it will not make New York safer. It will not undo his past, but it will shatter a family, destabilize a community, and send a message that America has no place for redemption if your skin is black, your passport is foreign, or your mistake were made too long ago. Robert next hearing is April 15th. So let us hope the decision makers do not just see a file number or the charge from 1994. Let them see a man, a father, a grandfather, a Harlem neighbor, a life, not just a sentence. It is not too late to choose justice with mercy. And we at the Jamaica Young Police Channel, yeah, we appeal for Robert because we do believe in a redemption. Normally, trust me, we normally know. Yeah, when it come on to criminals and all of them things, we don't normally ask for redemption. You understand? But in this case, we ask for it because it's just one of these things. It was destined for him to be, to get reprieve. Yeah, man. For him get a second chance because COVID was around then, so all of the airports them locked down, so them couldn't deport him. So when I look here, man, this, so hope him luck continue and you understand. We do believe in forgiveness, and this is what happened when you're in this town, and anyone especially from Jamaica, because we are from a criminal's paradise, where them impart all these kind of criminality onto us as people. Some of us who do not involve in criminality in America is because of we know the consequences of getting yourself involved in criminality. But this is something that has been imparted to us by the people who claims to be leaders back in Jamaica, and that's why this man end up where he at now. I would just ask him mercy. Donald Trump can show him some mercy because look, Donald Trump has pardoned there's so many criminals that Donald Trump pardoned. Donald Trump pardoned some people the other day with it's because I'm black. Yes, big thanks to everyone who reach out via the channel's telephone number to show interest in subscribing to our new platform, one that builds to speak truth to power and impact every single person living in America and around the world. It doesn't matter if you are black, white, yellow, green, blue, or red. This message is for all people who believe in freedom, truth, and justice. Yes. As we have said before, the name of the new channel speaks for itself. United we win, divided we lose. And you're looking at most people say that they cannot find it and all kind of things. So now, getting the feedback from from most of you people, in which we can't even count the amount of people that reach out to us and leave message. We cannot find it. You have to understand that my voice, this voice is not a voice that has been loved by the powers that be. Because when you speak truth, they try to censor you in every way. But guess what? We're not gonna stop. So united we win, divided we lose. That's not just a slogan. It's a fact. It's a call to rise above fear and stop playing it safe, while the system quietly chews up and spit us out. Even you. Cowards might think they are staying out of trouble by staying silent, but in the end, we just say it runs there spiritually, mentally, financially, and politically. So here's the truth. It is better to live a life and die as a free, honest, decent, honorable, and truthful human being than to exist as an obedient, broken slave begging for crumbs from a table that was never built for you. For over 400 years, our ancestors, we are taught black people, cried out to a God. They were taught to fear, kneeling and praying to a man in the sky, while their bodies were chained and their minds conditioned. That didn't free them. What did? Knowledge, courage, unity. Men like Taki, who the same maroons in Jamaica kill, chop off his head and put on a pike. Taki is the one why the United States of America exists today as a republic, but they won't teach the white people in America. A black man who took on the British Empire and won. And it's time we walk that same path any bolder. This new channel is not for the weak-hearted, the lukewarm, or for the comfortably numbed. It's for those who know who they are, God's children, defined by nature, fearless by choice. If that's you, welcome on. To the rest, stay away. We don't need friends who are secretly enemies. We don't need deadweight, doubters or deceivers. When we say enemies, we're talking about everything that stands against the truth. Lies, manipulation, division, cowardice, and blind obedience. No more lies, no more games, no more silence. This channel is the battleground for truth, and we are not backing down. How many times can they kill us once? Millions of our ancestors has died for this, for the little freedom that we're enjoying. God created every man equal, but some think that they're superior. And those who think that they're superior, just look, not one of them have ever been the fastest one in the world. Their genes are recessive. Our genes are dominant. So please, subscribe to the channel. We know that we are being sabotaged and tampered by the powers that be. But as time goes by, the truth will reveal.
Life essentially for the latter part of being here in New York City. A lot of it spent behind bars. And now tonight we have word from the federal courthouse here that after an emergency hearing, a federal judge has ruled that he stay in custody tonight. However, he has barred this person from deported until more information can be learned about this case.
Be adverse as justice can be reversed at any time.
Moments after recording this video, Robert Panton was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The 59-year-old has been fighting deportation to Jamaica since 2020, when a judge ordered him released from prison after a radical reform, turning his life around in his 3 decades behind bars for a narcotics conviction during the war on drugs in the 90s.
The same day of my release, Immigration and Customs Enforcement took me into custody during the worst pandemic in our history.
For 10 months, he wallowed in a holding cell during the COVID pandemic. And then the grandfather was given a temporary reprieve and granted deferred action on his deportation. Then Tuesday, during an ICE check-in, he was taken into custody. Panton recorded this video in anticipation of his worst possible outcome.
I appreciate all my supporters and all the people who's fighting for not only due process, but the proper consideration of being in this country.
Panton has lived in Harlem since age 4. Since his compassionate release, he has mentored at-risk youth, advocated for immigration reform, and runs a suicide prevention hotline. His son is an NYPD officer.
Our current laws continue to punish individuals like me, even after we complete our sentences.
Border Czar Tom Homan telling us Monday the mission of the administration is simple.
We're removing significant public safety threats and national security threats from this country.
And Panton's deportation fight actually first began during President Trump's first administration. Then he appealed to the Biden administration to commute his sentence, and now still continues, lingers on as he faces the possibility once again of being sent back to a place he hasn't called home since childhood. Reporting live from Lower Manhattan, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, Pix 11 News.
Okay, Anthony, we know you will stay on top of this story for us. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, Robert, as we say, Robert deserves a second chance. If Trump can pardon $1 million donors and drug lords, why not Robert Panton? Well, that's a truth. So let's speak plainly. Yes, what Robert Panton did decades ago was wrong, deeply wrong. He was involved in the drug trade, a world that brings pain, destruction, and loss to too many communities, especially black and brown communities, like the one he came from in Harlem, New York. He knows that. He said so himself. He has taken full responsibility for his actions. not with empty words, but through years of introspection, service, and transformation. But here's what makes his story different from so many others. Robert Panton changed. He served his time, nearly 3 decades behind bars. He came out reformed. Yes, he came from prison as a reformed man, grounded in humility and determined to make amends. Since his release in 2020, because COVID, if I never COVID, then I'm in Jamaica and me being dead already, Panton has been a force for good, helping the elderly, mentoring young men at risk of falling into the same trap as he once did, and supporting his family as a father and grandfather. His story is one of growth, resilience, and redemption. And yet, here we are, watching ICE and the Department of Homeland Security prepare to tear him away from his home, his community, and his American-born family. As though the past is all that matters, and the present counts for nothing. But let's put this in stark perspective. A tale of two systems. Under the very same system, Donald Trump pardoned some of the most notorious criminals in modern U.S. history. Yes. Take Alice Johnson, whose case, while tragic, was used as a political showpiece. She was convicted on multiple federal counts in a drug trafficking conspiracy and money laundering scheme involving cocaine. Trump commuted her sentence after reality star Kim Kardashian West personally lobbied for her. But that was the beginning. Trump also pardoned Michael Harry O. Harris, a co-founder of Death Row Records and one of the most prolific drug kingpin in the country during the 1980s. Someone whose drug empire stretched across states and who served years of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. And perhaps most disturbingly, he pardoned Elliot Brody, a top fundraiser and close Trump ally, who pleaded guilty to accepting millions in bribe and violating foreign lobbying law. Brody never served a day in prison. The ink on his plea deal was barely dry before his pardon was granted. Then there is a jaw-dropping case of a man who was ordered to pay by a court millions in restitution after the conviction of a serious financial crime, but who suddenly found favor with the White House after donating 200 plus 900,000 to Donald Trump's campaign and inaugural committee. He too walked free. So there it is, the uncomfortable question. Is redemption only available to the wealthy, the connected, or those who can afford to purchase political favors? What separates Robert Panton from these men? He didn't buy a pardon. He didn't have a celebrity plead in his case. He didn't bankroll a political campaign. All he was and had was his personal truth, his changed life, and a son who grew up to serve the people of New York as a police officer, inspired by his father's transformation. A second chance isn't a free pass, it's just an act. Let's be clear. Asking for a second chance is not
news about a Jamaican man who has been in the United States for more than 50 years here in New York, and he is detained right now facing removal by ICE. This is the Robert Panton case, in which he came to the United States when he was only 4 years old, and he had a green card. So this is a green card holder who had been here, got into serious trouble, heroin trafficking, drug trafficking, and he was sentenced to life in prison. He was convicted in 1994, and he was released from prison in 2020, released over into ICE, into their custody. This is to ICE Chicago. He was placed in removal proceedings, and a removal order was issued against him very soon thereafter in 2021. This is drug trafficking and aggravated felony, and he is subject to being deported. He was checking in with ICE. Everything was fine. He has been checking in with ICE. He checked in recently, and they detained him upon his checking in, and he's still being detained today. So you guys might have heard that ICE is in the process of detaining some individuals individuals who check in with them who are under their supervision. This is one of those cases, and it made the headlines because he's been here for more than 50 years. Over the years, he had appealed his removal order decision to the Board of Immigration Appeals, and he even took his case out to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, and all of those attempts failed. He also sought deferred action through ICE, and they approved it last August, and they said, okay, we will not take any steps to deport you until March 25th. Here we are today, March 25th, 2025. DHS is arguing that he's a criminal alien and that he is a member of the Black Guerrilla family, a known prison and street gang. He's denying any gang affiliation. That's even entirely irrelevant. They still have enough grounds to deport him based on his conviction. If they keep him here over the next couple of days in the U.S. still, he will have a hearing on April 9th. They do have the right to deport him immediately. So just know that if you have a very serious criminal record like this gentleman who had been here for more than 50 years and you're checking in with ICE, they are now detaining individuals with serious record, and you had gone through the system and a judge had issued a removal order against you.
Looking for a free pass. Robert Panton already paid the price for what he did. He was sentenced to life and served more than 25 years before being released. Since then, he has abided by all conditions, comply with immigration procedures, and tried to move forward with dignity. Even the National Immigration Justice Center, which has supported this case, confirms that there are no valid gang affiliation contrary to ICE's sudden and unsubstantiated claim. So this is just evil at its best. This is a man who has been through background checks, court procedures, and monitored releases, and who has never once failed to meet the standards set by the system. So I know why, after all this time, is Robert Panton being treated like he just stepped off a plane yesterday with a criminal record in his pocket. This is bigger than Panton. If America is a country that truly believes in second chances, in the possibility of human change and the power of redemption, then Robert Panton case is a test of those values. How do we look a reformer in the eye, a man who was incarcerated for nearly 30 years, rebuilt his life, and raised a law enforcement officer and says, you still don't deserve to stay here? What message does that send to people still incarcerated, trying to better themselves? Well, once you commit a crime and you know that because this law that they had used to deport people, that was after he was convicted. So this law was on the books because of the crime situation in America, where Jamaicans murder people because of the crack cocaine epidemic. That's why them start to deport them, because I saw them go to jail, the Jamaicans, I saw them come out, I saw them go back. Yeah, I mean, I tell you because we know people were even related to, were involved in it and them things. Some of them, some dead and all kind of things. Some go to prison, some get deported. So you learn from other people and but you have to understand this is a culture that they impart to us as Jamaican. It's not the Jamaican people fault, And it started by one man, Michael Manley, started that in Jamaica, that white man from England. He's the one imparted to us criminality, dishonesty, and make us as a people dishonest. Make Jamaican, everything Jamaicans always try to beat the system and end up in a problem. Impart to us industriousness, for us to be industrious, hard work, bring success, bad mind, thieving. So what message does that send to people still being incarcerated and trying to better themselves? What does that say to the grandchildren who know Robert, not as a criminal, but as a guiding light? So let mercy speak louder than money. We live in a time where money, politics and privilege are too often the ticket to freedom. But here we have an opportunity to show that character, humility, and true reform are just as powerful if we can pardon campaign donors, political insiders, and powerful drug lords. Then we can and must find it in our hearts and laws to give Robert Panton the same grace. Not because he's perfect, not because he's rich, but because he has changed. And change is what justice should ultimately be about. Have yourself a beautiful day. Jamaica Young Police Channel out.